What's going on, everybody? Back with another video here, and if you watched one of the first couple videos of me getting the Civic back, I had mentioned that I wanted to make a new spoiler, wing, whatever you want to call it. It had a PCI big race wing, if you want to call it that, on there. And while that would be good for track days and things, and I'm going to keep it for that, I just don't like the look of it for daily driving. It just looks too much for me because it's not a fast car. And, you know, it'll be, like I said, good for track days and things, but I want to make my own, something that will look better for street use when I take the car around, whatever, you know. I don't want to fake the funk. I don't know if I really showed it closely in other videos, but the PCI wing, if you can see it, left a little ding right there. Of course, there's holes from the mounting of it. So I couldn't really find anything aftermarket that I liked. I'm going to use some aluminum that I went and picked up, and I'm going to make a ducktail. I don't want to say Rocket Bunny style or Liberty Walk style, but I guess that's kind of what people know it as. So I've got some poster board here, just dollar store, 2 for $1 special stuff. It's perfect for this. I like to start out with poster board to get my initial shape, design down. That's just how I like to do it. First things first, painter's tape, the whole area I'm going to work on so I don't make any more scratches or anything. And then we'll go from there. Alright, we're all taped up. Like I said, just covering the area I need to work with. Kind of marked over the holes with some Sharpie. And now is the fun part to start with the poster board and making the basic design. It might change along the way. I might try a couple different things. We'll see how it goes. Only problem is I gotta find my scissors. I can't freaking find my scissors anywhere. So after I find the scissors, we'll get to it. Alright, so I cut some of the poster board, just a rough measurement of how far I want it, and it's also going to fold over, so I had to account for that. Got it lined up straight across the lid, made some reference marks, 5 of them, just so I can line this piece up if I do take it on and off. And I started to crease the outer edge of the trunk lid just so I know where my cut line's going to be. And now you can see how this is going to be a pretty complex piece. Quite a bit of shrinking right here. If you see how that already wants to bunch up like that? That's how you know it needs to be shrunk. So most of this should fold over pretty easily, but a lot of shrink is going to happen because of the way the lid curves in and down right there. Ton of shrink right through there. And I don't know if you can see it. Let me pop this level on here. You'll be able to see how much I have there on each side. So this panel actually rolls down. I mean, that's probably a good over an inch. Close to an inch. So this may be a little trickier than I originally thought it would be, at least this bottom panel. So we're going to continue on with getting this piece, maybe even make some slits where I know I need to shrink and I can get that to fold down. I'll tape it in place just to get the best shape we can. And then we'll start working on the actual top piece. It's going to slope up, and then the back, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to cut some relief cuts in here because we know it's going to need to be shrunk. These will allow the piece to fold over to where we need it to be. Right, now you can see all them wrinkles? That's how much that piece actually needs to shrink. That's why I like using paper. It's a super useful tool. It kind of folds and conforms like the metal will, just easier. So you can see what you're in for. So a ton of shrink through there. Really across most of the back, except for maybe right in the center, but even still, you know, it's wanting to bunch up. shrink probably all through that. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I'll come back when that piece is done and I have the bottom edge trimmed. Alright guys, so we got the back piece and the top piece just kind of roughly put on there. Kind of get an idea of how you want it. That's definitely too steep for me. I'm going to lower that a bit. I don't want to be in that tall. Good thing about the paper and the tape though is we can easily just pull it off and place it back on there again. Alright guys, I didn't want to bore you with a bunch of the trimming and, you know, repositioning of the pattern and all that. So I waited till I got it done and I pushed the car outside and finally got sunny. So, might be, I don't know if it's harder to tell on camera, but it looks pretty close to what the original, you know, the final design would be. But I did it two ways. So, here's the finish edge of this side. It kind of just dead ends at the trunk line and gets capped off, which I think looks pretty cool. I like the overall look of it. And then all this, where it's squiggled out, will be trimmed along this line, kind of following that back edge of the trunk, like I said. So try to visualize that. But I did something a little different on this side. I did like an extra end cap where it kind of overlaps onto the quarter, and I'm kind of leaning towards that. I feel like it looks more finished. You get a real nice flow from the quarter on this side. After looking at this side, the other side kind of just looks like it's just chopped off or something. I don't know, I can't decide. That's going to be a tricky piece to pull off. I won't want to make this a separate piece because I don't want anything, you know, I don't have to screw into the quarters or anything like that. That's not happening. So it's going to be one piece with the main structure, and then we'll just kind of overhang the quarter. And I feel like that's going to be kind of tricky to pull off. I think I can do it, but it's going to be a little more difficult than this side. Just kind of making a cap. Now this one does have a nice, you know, flow to it, but it just kind of looks like, you know, you just took a knife and chopped it off right there. I don't know how I feel about it after seeing the other side. So I'm going to sit here and stare at it for a while. I'm going to sit in my chair and just really think about how it looks and how I feel about the overall look of each side and make a decision. It might take me a while. I don't know what to do. But I can't go any further until I decide, so that's where we're at. Alright guys, so I asked a few people, I asked my wife, I asked some friends, and consensus is the driver's side where it overlaps the quarter looks better, which was my thought, but I'm nervous about it. It's going to be hard because there's always the risk of the car flexing, and if I have that clearance too tight, it can rub the quarter and ruin the paint, even if I have it, you know, separated with foam or two-way tape or something. But I do think that's the side that's going to look better. I'm going to go for it. If it doesn't work out right, then we'll redo the other side. I got my big sheet of aluminum here on the floor. If you're wondering about specs, it is 080. I'll have to do the metric conversion for overseas people. I'll put it on the screen. But it's 080 3003 H14 temper. So it is pretty rigid stuff, but you can anneal it and it moves, does whatever you want it to do. It's great material for metal shaping. Alright, so the rough piece is cut. As you can see, still got to finish up some little detailed edges. I'll clean those up with a grinder and some hand shears. But that's good. This piece, believe it or not, being the base, the bottom piece, is going to require the most shaping of the entire project. So that flat piece somehow has to fold down, and as you remember from earlier, it's got quite a bit that needs to go down on both sides. So I'm going to anneal this piece. If you don't know what annealing is, look it up. Basically, you're heating the metal to right before melting point, and aluminum is very tricky. It turns on you like that. You don't get any warning signs like steel where it turns real red and it starts to melt. This stuff will melt. I mean, it's right there on the borderline. So you got to be real careful doing it. All right, so I'll give you guys a quick Sharpie demonstration. I can't actually get to my acetylene torch. It's buried back there. My garage is packed. It is what it is. This will work. So we know we need to do this whole section. So I'm going to do just this little corner right here with the torch. I'm just going to use a propane torch. That works too. And you'll see what I mean. And the sound even changes because you're changing the temper. You can hear the sound. The sound will change after you can tell it's soft. Alright, as you can see, I went a little bit beyond when the Sharpie mark disappeared. And I feel like this method is not as accurate as the acetylene method, but it does work. Just takes a little bit of trial and error. And I've had pieces I've annealed them, and sometimes I guess I don't get to the right temp and it doesn't work. So you might experience a few tries, you know, might have to try it a couple times to get it right. But I'm going to go ahead, and you can cool it afterwards. It kind of locks the molecules into place where you heated them to. So I'm going to take this over, pour a little bit of water on it. I wouldn't waste bottled water, it's just what I had close. Go to the hose or something. Or use rainwater. Be environmentally friendly if you have rainwater to use. Okay. Hear the sound difference. I don't know if you can hear that. You can hear it change. That's what makes me know that I did it. So, let me get you guys in the tripod so I can show you how much easier it does bend. Alright. So, this is the side we didn't anneal. And as you can see, when I go to bend it, it springs almost right back. It's still pretty rigid. Now, when we go over here, look at that. Boom. Bends and stays. Super, I mean, it's super flexible. And this is pretty thick stuff. This is 080. So, you don't want to bend it too much, you don't want to ripple it up, but I have to put a significant amount of shape in. So that's annealing. Pretty easy. Said you could possibly ruin a piece, so just be careful. Take some practice to get it right. I'm going to go ahead and anneal that whole bottom couple 3 inches where it's going to need a lot of shape. It'll make things so much easier on me, like I said earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. So this is what's called a mushroom dolly. Looks like a mushroom. This is a cheaper one, but they're kind of hard to come across. I got this one from Eastwood. It's pretty nice. It's held up. Needs a little bit of polishing again. Okay, I'm going to start folding the edge over everywhere where it needs to actually go over the back of the trunk and shrink. I'm going to use my wood mallets from SnapFab. Big Joe, if you look into his company, snapfab.com is the website. I'll link it down below. He makes some really killer, at least I think he's still making these. He hand turns these on a lathe. A really cool laminated wood. Really nice. And wear your ear protection when you do this stuff. It's super loud. all them ripples, that needs to be shrunk. We got it back up. We got some significant shape in this thing already. You can see all them ripples are going to need to be shrunk. Like I said, it's going to be the most difficult piece for sure. I made kind of an inside guideline as to the edge of the trunk lid where I need to fold it over at. So I'm gradually folding it over. You want to sneak up on something like that, you don't really want to go for a straight hard line, because chances are once you start shrinking and rolling the edge over, it's going to move. It's not really going to be in the spot you want it to, so just kind of work up to it is what I'm doing here. But might look like a mess right now, and it definitely does look like a mess right now, but we're going to get there slowly but surely. You can see that really squared that edge off a lot more. Still got a long way to go, but it's going in the right direction now. Alright guys, making really good progress. So you can see that. This is a really complex piece. This may be one of the most complex pieces I've ever made, actually, in such a large scale anyway, because you got curve this way, plus the corner, you know, with the edge rolling over, and then also going in this way. It's got a lot going on. A little bit more involved than I expected, to be honest. But I think I'm on the right track. I haven't went too far yet with anything. The only issue is with me starting to fold the edge over and that whole edge needing to be shrunk like we knew. I don't know if I can show it here. The panel's curling up this way, which is the exact opposite of what we wanted to do, because all this material that I folded over is bunching up, hence all these wrinkles. So I need to shrink all that to get the edges to come back down to follow the contour of the trunk lid. The best way to do that is going to be with kick shrinker, especially because this is not going to be a visible panel. The tool leaves jaw marks, which you'll see, which you can rectify, but if you don't have to use it, it's better to shrink by hammer. And I don't have a shrinking stump. I wish I did. It'd make things a lot easier. I can use my sandbag here to hit this down. It'll cause a bunch of tucks. I can then shrink those. But the kick shrinker is going to make things easier for us, and why work harder if I don't have to? So the only problem is it's tucked over there with everything else, because I've literally outgrown this space. So if I can get it out fairly easily, I'm going to do a couple shrinks just to get it a little bit closer so I can stop for the evening, just to put my mind at ease, because if I don't do that, I'm going to be thinking about it all night. So, alright, so I've showed this tool in previous videos and how easy it is to go overboard with this thing. So I'm going to do a couple really light shrinks, really light foot pressure, nothing crazy, just to start bringing that thing over. And we'll use it further in the future if we need it, but just to get this thing curl over for the night, do a couple light shrinks. And if you don't know what one of these is, quick, very quick, raw explanation is there are little spring-loaded jaws in here that come down and grab the metal and then pull in. So the pressure of the machine pushes the jaws down and in. And that is the shrinking effect. It actually does shrink the metal into itself. The stretchers do the exact opposite. They come down, pull out. That's all it is. Start roughly in the middle. Like I said, some real light shrinks throughout. Alright, exactly like I said. If you can see the little jaw marks there. I don't think I went enough. It still looks pretty curled up, but I'm going to check it. It's better to do it 10 times. Keep checking rather than do it once and it be too much. Yeah. Definitely still needs a lot. So the flat, the middle's sitting flat. So from about a third of the way over. I don't know if you can see that. You can see how much it's curled up. Same on that side. So I'm going to continue to shrink through there. And that should help bring it down some. Alright guys, I'm going to call it for the night. Probably worn out my welcome as far as noise goes with the neighbors, but pretty pleased with where we've gotten. Still need to get these edges, or these ends, to shrink downward. Might have to do a little bit of stretching in the middle to get them to relax down a bit. I already did a little bit of hammering there, but I didn't go too crazy with it. It's getting too late. So we can see where it needs to come down, where it's sitting flat, but I'm getting this contour to work out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, it's been a while. It's like a relearning process every time I do this stuff because I don't do it every day. But it's going well. I'm really happy with it. Once I get this panel done, the rest should be relatively easy. It's not a whole lot of shaping. It's kind of a whole lot of forming. On it. Might look like a crumbled up mess to some people, but it's a good start. Trust me. We're going to call it there. I don't know if this is going to be the end of the video. If not, I'm going to edit this part out and you'll never see it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video when we continue on with this thing. I don't want to draw it out too long, but I also don't want to make the videos too long because then nobody really watches long videos, it seems. So, this might be a short one. We'll see. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more, please like the video, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, whatever you want to do. I really appreciate everyone that views these videos. Gives me the motivation to keep going. Truly appreciate each and every one of you that watches. So, until next time, peace.